Okay, now that our dough has rested in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, I am going to roll it out into a rectangle, about a half sheet pan size, but I know this dough is bigger than I'm used to because I use a different recipe. I am going to cut off a bit and save it for some awesome, some fun, for some extra play later. And this is a good size. Seems a little bit, just a little bit more. Don't want to have too many cinnamon rolls. Okay. Gonna roll this here. Gonna lightly flour the bench. I'll use this to play, maybe put some Filipino fun inside. Okay, so heavily flour this just so it doesn't stick. Gonna go from in, out. I'm gonna turn it. So I want like a rectangle, half sheet pan size. You always want to roll in one direction, because if you roll this way, it's uneven. So what you want to do is make sure I'll get the length first, and then I'll go the width. All right. There's a lot of gluten in it, which is good, because you see it retracting a little bit. Means I have some good gluten. A little bit more flour. All right. So if it's retracting too much, you can let it rest. Okay, so a little bit more wider. I'm gonna let it hang off my bench or table for a little bit, just to let the gravity kind of do its thing while I'm rolling it out. I don't have a big enough board. Okay, yep. That should be okay. It's a little thicker on some points, so you just wanna make sure it's even all the way around. No, this part needs to be a little bit longer. Okay, I'm just gonna overextend it so when I move it, it'll just retract. Okay. All right, so it's not too bad. So I'm just gonna continue rolling it until it's a good rectangle. Okay, I'm gonna cheat and roll it this way because I just can't move this board. Okay, that's good. Okay, so it's about a half sheet pan size, and it should be even thickness around. Okay, should be good. I have a hole here, but you could just kind of patch it up a little bit. Okay, so let's see if you, okay, so I'm just making sure everything's in view of my camera. You're gonna take some melted butter and brush it, but don't go all the way to this edge here. Okay, it's a little bit chubby on this side. I'm just gonna stretch it just a tad. You wanna keep like about an inch on the top, not with butter so it can stick, then go all the way to the edge, all the way to the edges. Because you want to have the cinnamon and sugar stick to the melted butter. All right, okay, so there you go. Good layer of melted butter. This cinnamon and sugar is mixed with brown sugar, granulated sugar, and cinnamon. There should be a ratio in your lab packet, but I like to just kind of eyeball it just because I can. And ideally, sometimes I like to just put brown sugar just because of the flavor of it and the moisture, but I don't have enough at home, so I just have to make do with what I have. Just make a good layer. You don't want to put too much cinnamon. Sometimes if you put too much cinnamon, when it cooks, it gets a little gooey. You know, have you ever had a cinnamon roll that kind of looked like snot? That's because the cinnamon was too much. Okay, so there you go. Pretty good layer, good layer. Then we're gonna go from this end here, and you're gonna roll it nice and tight. You're gonna pull it towards you. You're gonna walk it all the way over to the edge, and then roll it up. So what you wanna do, when you're rolling up this, you wanna make it nice and tight, but not too tight, okay? Keep on going back and forth, and then keep on tucking the edge in, because if you just roll, it'll kind of spray out. But if you kind of just work your way back and forth, and then kind of just make sure you tuck in this end here, it won't have that weird looking edge. Okay, so roll it up. And then when I come to this edge here, I'll just pull it out so it makes a nice, even roll there. Okay, so good. So once you get to this point, bring it towards you, flip it up, and then pinch the seam down. Okay, pinch the seam down. Then we're gonna cut this into 12 equal pieces. Okay, if it's a little tapered on this end or this end, you wanna squish it, or you wanna roll it out so it has an even thickness. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go get my dental floss. I'll be right back. Okie dokie. So I have a little bit of dental floss. Okay. We're going to mark this into 12. Okay. The best, easiest way to mark this into 12 is to mark this in half. Okay. And then each half, you're going to do a half of that. So we're dividing this into fourths. And then each of these, you want to mark into thirds. So if you do that, then you'll have exactly 12. Okay. So if you don't have dental floss, you could use a very sharp knife. I have like an Asian cleaver. Then you just make sure the weight of the knife just kind of goes through. You don't want to cut straight through because the seams will, it'll just squish it. But if you have some dental floss, the easiest way is to lift this up, move the floss underneath it, and you cross it over to where that cut is. Boom. All right, nice and clean. You never thought floss would come in handy, eh? So just keep on going down. Cut this. Okay. Takes a little bit of practice. You have to make sure that the floss is straight up and down, because if it's sideways, it'll cut the your rolls a little bit wonky. So you got to make sure. Oops. And see how this one's a little bit off? My floss wasn't straight. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna put them in a container. These are going to, you could set them up on a sheet pan. If you want like individual cinnamon rolls, you could lay them around on a sheet pan separate, and they'll just make their own cinnamon roll, like so. But if you want them kind of like, say, Cinnabon or something, you can put them in a tray close together, and they'll cook. They'll get really big. So I have a pan here. I'm gonna stick four in this this tray here. Okay, so I want to. If your cinnamon roll looks like this, you always want to bake it cut side up so it's nicer. Imagine like if you had a cinnamon roll that looked like that, it looked kind of ugly. So, and then if it's too high, you can just squish it down a little bit. Okay, so they're, you know, nice and evenly flat. Okay, so I'm going to get this, egg wash them. Pretend this is egg wash. Okay, I'm gonna just egg wash them. I'm going to wrap them and proof them until they're 3/4 proof. You don't want to do it till it's double because it'll fall in the oven. You want to 3/4 proof it and then bake it in a 350-degree oven until they're nice and golden brown. All right, so I'll show you that when they come out. So this is before proofing. Okay, so we're gonna see how it 3/4 proofs in a little bit.